Chapter 9 of Hans Brinker. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. This recording is by Mark Smith of Simpsonville, South Carolina. Hans Brinker, or The Silver Skates, by Mary Mapes Dodge. Chapter 9. The Festival of St. Nicholas. We all know how, before the Christmas tree began to flourish in the home life of our country, a certain right jolly old elf with 8 tiny reindeer used to drive his sleigh-load of toys up to our housetops, and then bounded down the chimney to fill the stockings so hopefully hung by the fireplace. His friends called him Santa Claus, and those who were most intimate ventured to say Old Nick. It was said that he originally came from Holland. Doubtless he did, but, if so, he certainly, like many other foreigners, changed his ways very much after landing upon our shores. In Holland, St. Nicholas is a veritable saint and often appears in full costume, with his embroidered robes, glittering with gems and gold, his mitre, his crozier, and his jeweled gloves. Here Santa Claus comes rollicking along on the 25th of December, our holy Christmas morn. But in Holland, St. Nicholas visits earth on the 5th, a time especially appropriated to him. Early on the morning of the 6th, he distributes his candies, toys, and treasures, then vanishes for a year. Christmas Day is devoted by the Hollanders to church rites and pleasant family visiting. It is on St. Nicholas's Eve that their young people become half wild with joy and expectation. To some of them it is a sorry time, for the saint is very candid, and if any of them have been bad during the past year, he is quite sure to tell them so. Sometimes he gives a birch rod under his arm, and advises the parents to give them scoldings in place of confections, and floggings instead of toys. It was well that the boys hastened to their abodes on that bright winter evening, for in less than an hour afterward the saint made his appearance in half the homes of Holland. He visited the king's palace, and in the self-same moment appeared in Annie Bowman's comfortable home. Probably one of our half-dollars would have purchased all that his saintship left at the peasant Bowman's, but a half-dollar's worth will sometimes do for the poor what hundreds of dollars may fail to do for the rich. It makes them happy and grateful, fills them with new peace and love. Hilda von Gleck's little brothers and sisters were in a high state of excitement that night. They had been admitted into the grand parlor. They were dressed in their best, and had been given 2 cakes apiece at supper. Hilda was as joyous as any. Why not? St. Nicholas would never cross a girl of 14 from his list, just because she was tall and looked almost like a woman. On the contrary, he would probably exert himself to do honor to such an august-looking damsel. Who could tell? So she sported and laughed and danced as gaily as the youngest, and was the soul of all their merry games. Her father, mother, and grandmother looked on approvingly. So did her grandfather, before he spread his large red handkerchief over his face, leaving only the top of his skull-cap visible. This kerchief was his ensign of sleep. Earlier in the evening all had joined in the fun. In the general hilarity there had seemed to be a difference only in bulk between grandfather and the baby. Indeed, a shade of solemn expectation, now and then flitting across the faces of the younger members, had made them seem rather more thoughtful than their elders. Now the spirit of fun reigned supreme. The very flames danced and capered in the polished grate. A pair of prim candles that had been staring at the astral lamp began to wink at other candles far away in the mirrors. There was a long bell rope suspended from the ceiling in the corner, made of glass beads netted over a cord nearly as thick as your wrist. It is generally hung in the shadow and made no sign, but tonight it twinkled from end to end. Its handle of crimson glass sent reckless dashes of red at the papered wall, turning its dainty blue stripes into purple. Passers-by halted to catch the merry laughter floating, through curtain and sash, into the street, then skipped on their way with a startled consciousness that the village was wide awake. At last matters grew so uproarious that the grandsire's red kerchief came down from his face with a jerk. What decent old gentleman could sleep in such a racket? Mynheer van Gleck regarded his children with astonishment. The baby even showed symptoms of hysterics. It was high time to attend to business. Madame suggested that if they wished to see the good Saint Nicholas, they should sing the same loving invitation that had brought him the year before. The baby stared and thrust his fist into his mouth as Mynheer put him down upon the floor. Soon he sat erect and looked with a sweet scowl at the company. With his lace and embroideries and his crown of blue ribbons and whalebone, for he was not quite past the tumbling age, he looked like the king of the babies. The other children, each holding a pretty willow basket, formed a ring at once, and moved slowly around the little fellow, lifting their eyes, for the saint to whom they were about to address themselves was yet in mysterious quarters. Madame commenced playing softly upon the piano. Soon the voices rose, gentle, youthful voices, rendered all the sweeter for their tremor. "Welcome, friend, Saint Nicholas, welcome. Bring no rod for us tonight. While our voices bid thee welcome, every heart with joy is light. Tell us every fault and failing, we will bear thy keenest railing. So we sing, so we sing, thou shalt tell us everything. Welcome, friend, Saint Nicholas, welcome, welcome to this merry band. Happy children greet thee, welcome, thou art gladdening all the land. Fill each empty hand and basket, 'tis thy little ones who ask it. So we sing, thou wilt bring us everything." During the chorus, sundry glances, half in eagerness, half in dread, had been cast toward the polished folding doors. Now a loud knocking was heard. The circle was broken in an instant. Some of the little ones, with a strange mixture of fear and delight, pressed against their mother's knee. Grandfather bent forward with his chin resting upon his hand. Grandmother lifted her spectacles. Mynheer van Gleck, seated by the fireplace, slowly drew his meerschaum from his mouth while Hilda and the other children settled themselves beside him in an expectant group. The knocking was heard again. "Come in," said Madame softly. The door slowly opened, and Saint Nicholas, in full array, stood before them. You could have heard a pin drop. Soon he spoke. What a mysterious majesty in his voice! What kindliness in his tones! "Karl van Gleck, I am pleased to greet thee, and thy honored Frau Catherine, and thy son and his good Frau Annie. Children, I greet ye all. Hendrik, Hilda, Broom, Katy, Huygens, and Lucretia, and thy cousins, Wolfert, Diedrich, Mayken, Woest, and Katrina. Good children ye have been, in the main, since I last accosted ye. Diedrich was rude at the Haarlem Fair last fall, but he has tried to atone for it since. Mayken has failed of late in her lessons, and too many sweets and trifles have gone to her lips, and too few stivers to her charity box. Diedrich, I trust, will be a polite, manly boy for the future, and Mayken will endeavor to shine as a student. Let her remember, too, that economy and thrift are needed in the foundation of a worthy and generous life. Little Katy has been cruel to the cat more than once. Saint Nicholas can hear the cat cry when his tail is pulled. I will forgive her if she will remember from this hour that the smallest dumb creatures have feelings and must not be abused." As Katy burst into a frightened cry, the saint graciously remained silent until she was soothed. "Master Broom," he resumed, "I warn thee that the boys who are in the habit of putting snuff upon the foot-stove of the schoolmistress may one day be discovered and receive a flogging." Master Broom colored, and stared in great astonishment. "But thou art such an excellent scholar,